You're listening to the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Taunya Lowe, a podcast of curated conversations with C-suite leaders and those who support organizational growth and development. Get ready for inspiring interviews, educational lessons, and thought-provoking discussions that will challenge you to execute something new and innovative that will drive results in your organization. And now, here's Dr. Taunya Lowe.
Hello. You're listening to episode 37 of the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Taunya Lowe. Using my results-driven philosophy of strategy, leadership, teams, and customer experiences, I help organizations develop their best kept secret, their human capital. Welcome back to RDO. And guess what? You are my co-host today. Today, we're delving into a topic that's incredibly relevant in the world of work. Something many of us might have experienced or witnessed, but didn't have a name for it. I know I didn't have a name for it. I attended some SHRM meetings this summer, and the topic came up, and I was like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. What is that again? The name is quiet quitting. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth is quiet quitting? Just like myself. Well, it's this phenomenon where employees don't drastically turn in their resignation. I'm leaving, I'm quitting, I quit. They're not doing the Dolly Parton from 9 to 5. And I know I'm probably dating myself. I quit, take this job and shove it. No. They're not doing that. They are slowly disengaging. It's like a quiet exit. And there's some things that you need to be aware of. So before you lose your top talent, your key employee, your right hand, there's 7 major signs of quiet quitting according to DeskBird's 2023 article. So the first thing is there's a drop in engagement. You notice that the twinkle in their eyes is fading away. They're not as excited about the work anymore. And then there's an increase in absenteeism. So they're not showing up, not even for remote work. Okay. So if they're hybrid or if they're in the office, they'd rather avoid it. They don't want to come in. And then they're starting to complain about everything. So that's going to be your cue that something is awry. And then, wait, let me not forget about they become indifferent. Well, I don't care, whatever you want to do. If you like it, I love it. All of these things creep in, and then there's a decline in their work. It's a slow, subtle unraveling of the commitment that they made to possibly a job that they once really loved. But here's the kicker, folks. According to Gallup's State of the Global Workplace report in 2021, a staggering 53% of employees are not engaged in their jobs. That's half, a little over half of your workforce. And then 27%, they're actively disengaged. That's a whole lot of quiet quitting going on around us. And get this, the cost of this type of engagement, this type of pulling back from their job duties, it costs a whopping $605 billion with the B dollars, $605 billion lost in productivity in the US alone. Yeah, you heard me right. Now, if you're a manager or a leader, you need to pay attention. Quiet quitting can be tricky. It can be tricky to spot. You can think, well, somebody, by the time you notice, you may think, well, wow, Joe, John, Mary, they're just having a bad day. But employees aren't going to shout out their dissatisfaction. They're not going to hold up a sign and say, I hate it here. They're simply going to fade into the background, like Homer Simpson fading into those bushes. If you've seen that video where he just slowly fades into the bushes until he's gone. But don't be fooled. Disengagement, quiet quitting, it impacts productivity and team performance significantly. When an employee disengages, they're not going the extra mile, they're not brainstorming, they're not coming up with innovative ideas, and they're not pulling the team together either. So, what can you do as a leader? Well, the first thing is pay attention. And I know you're thinking, oh my God, Dr. Taunya, I've got so much going on. You cannot not afford to pay attention to your human capital. They are your best kept secret. So pay attention. Look out for decreased communication, lack of enthusiasm, missed deadlines and appointments, and increased absenteeism. Those are all warning signs that something is happening. And then as a leader, what you can do is encourage open communication. Now, I'm not talking about that fake, I've got an open door policy. I'm talking about going to the person and say, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. Let's go for a quick walk. Let's jump on a Zoom, non-recorded call, and let's talk about some of the things I'm noticing. How can I support you? Are you conducting regular feedback sessions? And I'm not talking about just those evaluation sessions or the 90-day, thing that you do. Regular feedback sessions, ongoing. And one of my clients, they make it a practice to meet with their executive team. I think they meet every week, if not every 2 weeks, just for a check-in, just so nothing falls between the cracks, just in case he or she notices something that before it turns into a big, massive problem, right? It can be addressed. You want to consider doing anonymous surveys that can help you understand what's going on with your team before things start to escalate. Okay. So, leaders, this one is specifically for you. Create a positive and supportive work culture. That's right. That's your job. It's not HR's job. It's everybody's job to create a positive and supportive work culture. Open lines of communication where people can talk about what they're feeling, what they're experiencing without negative repercussions. I'll tell you right now, when people can't show up and truly express themselves, that's going to start the quiet quitting. That's going to start them fading to black, right? So recognize achievements. Creating a supportive environment is not taking advantage of other people's work and claiming it as your own, but it's recognizing the achievements. It's saying, hey, I support you. I'm glad we're in this fight together. I'm glad you're on the team, and then provide some growth opportunities. Show your team that they're valued and they're heard. I attended a conference. Actually, they didn't call it a conference. They called it an experience, and it was an amazing experience. But they talked about how employees want to feel valued and heard. That's communication. It's not about, did I send the email? It's not about, did you hear me? It's, do you value me as a team member? Do you hear my concerns? Are we coming up with a way to deal with issues so they're actually dealt with and not just talked about? And when you do spot quiet quitting, address it. Have those candid, hard to have conversations and find solutions together. Don't forget to recognize and reward your employees the way they want to be recognized and rewarded. Like I mentioned, a thank you, a small incentive, all of these things can boost morale. Remember, workplace dynamics change often. We've been in a change of workplace dynamics since before the pandemic. And as a leader, it's your job to stay tuned in. It's your job to model that behavior for the leaders that report to you so that they can model that behavior to the managers that they oversee. Because when you foster a positive environment, a growth environment, if you will, an environment where people feel like I like working here, I trust what's happening here, you can wave quiet quitting goodbye. Or as another one of my clients said, I'm kicking quiet quitting in the butt. I don't want to have to deal with quiet quitting. We've got too much going on here. And when you say goodbye to quiet quitting, you can say hello to a thriving, engaged, growing workforce because you're working together. I hope you enjoyed this episode on quiet quitting. Join us next week for quiet hiring. That's right. Just like there's quiet quitting, there's also quiet hiring. Visit the show notes to subscribe. Order your copy of our Amazon #1 bestseller, Results-Driven Organizations, The 4 Keys to a High-Performance Workplace, and grab our special gift to you for being a valued listener. Until next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Results-Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Taunya Lowe. Be sure to review the show notes for the resources mentioned, and don't forget to grab your free gift available